I'm Drew Stevenson. This is for my administrative law class, and this is a quick introduction to our unit or module about executive control over regulatory agencies, especially the executive branch agencies. And we're mostly talking about the president and the tools that are available legally and especially constitutionally to the president to pick agency directors and give policy directives to the agencies. So let's dive in. So, first of all, the president under the Constitution gets to appoint the agency directors. Now, the titles can vary. We sometimes call these secretaries for cabinet positions, or directors or commissioners. And in a few cases, they're called the administrator. And you might think of it as the primary way the presidents get to implement their preferred policies. They choose directors who share their vision and their views. And remember that the Constitution requires the advice and consent of the Senate. That means that the people that the president nominates are going to have to go through Senate confirmation. Now, most presidents historically do not clean house and fire everyone in the agency. It's more normal for presidents to appoint or replace the top tiers of leadership, the directors and maybe the assistant directors and so on. Statutes, a few federal statutes limit the ability of certain officials in the federal government and to be removed and give some job security or protect from summary political firing some of the lower level employees or civil servants in an agency. Of course, this could be subject to change if the statutes change or the Supreme Court takes the law in a different direction, but that has been a pretty stable area for several decades. With a few exceptions, presidents can generally remove directors or administrators who they don't like or who refuse to implement their policies. There are some caveats that we're going to talk about in this chapter. And that area of law, this particular point of presidential removal powers, is currently in flux. There's a number of big cases pending before the Supreme Court at the time I'm making this video, and there's been a lot of disruption or upheaval in this area in the last few years, even though it was stable for many decades. Now let's talk about executive orders. Congress allocates the overall budget, but the president can direct how that money is spread, for the most part, within an agency. So this gives the president quite a bit of power to defund or shutter specific small subdepartments or units that they don't like or don't agree with, and expand offices, for example, let's say enforcement, that align with their goals. Presidents, through executive orders, can direct or order agencies to shift their priorities in terms of what policies they're focused on and their resources to specific efforts. So they could order the EPA to focus more on climate change or to stop doing that. They could order bank regulators to crack down on cryptocurrencies, or they could order them to deregulate the area. The president has some power of internal organization within the executive branch and within the agencies that Congress has created by statute. So the president within an agency like the Securities and Exchange Commission or the EPA can rearrange the org chart, so to speak, or the chain of command, can order layoffs. In terms of practical impact for the agency employees or the people working there and carrying out the actual day-to-day governance of our country, reorganizations really matter. This changes who workers report to, can dramatically alter the day-to-day work environment and institutional culture. For example, you could be in a unit that encourages remote working for federal workers and one day find out you've been reassigned to report to someone who mandates that everyone is in the office and so forth. So if you get along with your supervisor, that your work experience can be very different than if you are suddenly put under someone that you clash with. Through executive orders and other directives, presidents can mandate collaboration between specific agencies. For example, they could order the Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Transportation to work together on car emissions. They may require that one agency get another agency to sign off or give permission before going forward with a new rule or regulation. It's pretty common. We're going to spend some time near the end of this chapter talking about the Office of Management and Budget, or OMB, and a subunit or subdivision of that called the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, or OIRA. This is actually a critical form of background control behind the scenes for the president. Most executive agencies have to get approval from OIRA or the OMB before they can publish or promulgate new regulations in the Federal Register. So this is an important check to keep an agency from just exercising unfettered discretion with no accountability. Most things they will have to get approved from the OMB, which works closely with the president. Let's not forget about litigation and enforcement issues. Most agencies won't go to court on their own, whether to bring an enforcement action or to defend a new regulation that's being challenged, for example, with a party seeking a declaratory judgment. They will normally depend on the Department of Justice or Attorney General to bring enforcement actions and the Solicitor General to defend federal laws and regulations that are being challenged. The Solicitor General will file amicus briefs and high-profile cases, even between private parties, to signal the president's position to the court. So this is an important way because the president usually has such a close relationship with the Attorney General and gets to pick an Attorney General and a Solicitor General who share their policy views. The fact that most agencies will have to litigate through the Department of Justice or the Solicitor General means that the president has a lot of control over what the agency can litigate or what their litigation strategy or approach will be. We don't really have cases about this in our casebook, but you should be aware that the president does shape agency policy somewhat through public announcements and press conferences and media interviews, even social media posts and so forth. Those can function as public promises or commitments. And this media that turns into media pressure where agency officials sometimes they hear about new policies or priorities for the first time from watching the news or after the president has announced it publicly. But because the president is over the executive branch, the agencies respond to that. So if the president, by announcing something publicly or holding a press conference about it, can change the direction that an agency is going to go in response. And that concludes our quick introduction to the chapter. I was hoping to give you some issues or signpost a little bit what you should be watching for as you work through the cases and the materials in this unit. Thanks for watching.